Perfect. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm going to keep the chat up over here. I have multiple screens going. So if you see me look here, then you see me look there, you see me look there. It's a lot going on right now to put on this workshop. But welcome in, everyone. And thank you so much for joining CreateHER Fest today. As usual, I always say this, but this is a safe, intentional space for women, gender expansive folks, and allies to discover, design, and deliver with emerging technologies. So CreateHER Fest exists to bridge the gender gap in tech through hands-on training in AI, AR, VR, and blockchain. So our overall goal is that you leave with something that you can actually use. It's so interesting being on this side of things again. Usually I'm the host, but today I'm your facilitator. Give me some claps, some hearts, because I'm a little bit nervous. Okay, great. We'll get into it. So, who am I? First of all, let's talk about what this workshop is and then who am I? So, welcome to Let Her Cook, Context Engineering with moi. My name is Darlyze Calixte. I'm Haitian, a polyglot. I'm officially out 4 languages. Also clap, because that's really cool. I want to get a 5th, and I think that would be really awesome. But I'm a software engineer, community builder, serial technologist. I'm a foodie, wine nerd, travel enthusiast, as you can see from this photo of me. This is when I did a solo trip. I spent 4 months in Latin America in a bunch of different countries whose languages I do not speak. I did not know much Spanish at the time, and so I did it anyway and learned Spanish, and it was really, really cool. And I did a lot of traveling, went to the Amazon. That was really cool and also really scary. I thought I was in my Nat Geo vibe. I'm not gonna lie, guys. It's scary out there. It was really cool, but it is really scary. Just saying. I'm also co-founder of CreateHER Fest, and today we're going to be learning, of course, about context engineering. Another thing about me, I am not an expert, but I read a lot and I like to build. I'm also chronically online. And so you're probably going to see a lot of reaction pics and memes throughout this presentation. So I hope that's good with y'all. But like I said, I'm not an expert, but I do like to build. I read a lot. So if you have a question, I may not know the answer. And I think that is okay because I'm super, super down to find out what that answer is together. So just wanted to preface, I'm not an expert. I'm someone who learned a thing and thought it was really interesting and cool and wanted to share that with the community. So this technology is honestly really new. And there's a good chance that what I say today may not even be relevant in the next maybe 3 months because yeah, tech, you know how tech goes in this industry, especially with emerging technology. Things move really, really fast. All right. Before we dive in, quick overview, just so we can get the most out of today. You guys are using the chat, so that's great. Use the chat to introduce yourself, names, pronouns if you'd like, location. I was saying earlier, I'm in Durham, North Carolina. It is cold, don't love it. Really trying to get out this country for a little bit, trying to see some sun. But use the chat to also respond to each other or respond to me as well. We also have the Q&A feature. So if you're on a computer or I think also on your phone in this Google Meet, you should see a little grid box down below. If you click on that and you click on meeting tools, you'll see the Q&A feature and you can use this feature for questions. And so as we go through the presentation, my moderators will help either ask them like while we're kind of going through, or we'll leave time at the end. Hopefully we have time at the end. I'm gonna try to get through this really like not that fast, but it's a lot of information and I did have to cut a lot. And so I hope it's still good. Also, occasionally you'll see a poll pop up on your screen. And that's just kind of our way of gauging the room and adjusting the pace and the depth in real time. So since CreateHER Fest is about skills and community, I also want you to take some time to connect. So an amazing creator, Natasha, created a Google Sheet for everyone to stay connected. I share this in every workshop just in case other people are interested in it. You can use this Google Sheet to connect with fellow builders and add your own connection information there as well. So people are dropping like their names and LinkedIn's, saying what they're interested in building. I think it's a really cool concept, and we'd love to build that out even further. But One thing I will say is that we do have volunteers in the chat. We have one, my co-founder, Adrienne, but we also have some of our community managers in the chat as well. So if you have any questions at all, if you're like, wait, what was that link? Can I get some help? What I need, the Instagram or the Discord link or anything else, feel free to message in the chat and one of them will get to you. So one thing we'll try is a quick poll, just so I know that we know how to use it. But let me go back into Google Meet really quickly and launch it. Boom, 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 poll. Oh, it's already live. Okay, perfect. Y'all are on it. All right. Volunteers are so great. I love y'all. All right, so poll. Right now, how often do you feel your AI tools really understand what you're trying to do? A, almost never. B, sometimes. C, about half the time. D, most of the time. Or E, always. So you should have seen that poll kind of pop up on your screen below. And I'm looking at some of the results as they come in. All right, almost, okay, about half the time. We're getting more votes for about half the time, sometimes, almost always, sometimes, about half the time. We're really getting in on about half the time. My goal is that at the end of this workshop, that we kind of go from sometimes about half the time to at least most of the time and almost always. And that's going to be kind of the point of this workshop for today. So while you're here, also keep an eye on the chat for a secret word. Keep an eye on the presentation as well for the secret word or the secret code for the workshop quest in the 75 Her Quest channel if you're participating in 75 Her. All our workshop recordings will be uploaded to our YouTube within 24 hours. And so we'll also share them in the Discord resources channel. If you're not in our Discord, highly, highly, highly recommend joining the Discord. It's going to be the first place that we typically post those kind of resources, along with any slides, links, templates that are going to be mentioned today, frameworks. And I got a lot of frameworks because I'm type A and I love a list. Okay, I love a list. All right, so you're going to be able to rewatch this if you want, pause, apply the things at your own pace. So don't worry about if this moves a little fast. It shouldn't, honestly, but if it moves a little fast, you're like, okay, I don't know if I can keep up. That's okay, because you'll have this recording. All right, so with that, we'll get started. I will pause for a second to drink water because I had to put that in my notes to stop and drink water. Otherwise, I will just yap and yap and yap.
You're doing so great.
Oh, thank you very much. Whew. All right, that was a nice little sip. Let's get into it. All right, so what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? By the end of this session, hopefully you'll have done 3 things. You would have designed a product spec that Claude, we're going to be working with Claude because I love Claude. We're going to be working with a product spec that Claude can follow consistently across tasks. We're going to create a Claude project that remembers this document, this spec document, and workflows. And then we're going to apply context engineering to a project that will build essentially together. I love Claude too. I love that. Claude is that girl. I'm sorry. No tea, no shade to the ChatGPT people. But it's really about Claude right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. But sounds good. Hopefully that sounds good about what we're doing. We're going to talk about mostly Claude, and then we'll get into a little bit of Claude code, which is going to be a little bit fun given what we're doing. Hopefully, if we have time. All right. So sounds good. Give me a thumbs up if we're feeling good and excited for this workshop today. Excellent. Getting a lot of thumbs up. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right. Moving on. So the problem. Let's start with the problem. Most of us live in what I call prompting la la land. All right. We still think that simple prompting is enough. We forget prompts that work often. And I would say we forget that prompts can mysteriously and not really all that mysteriously eventually break, right? So we're dealing with same task, wildly different outputs. It kind of feels like babysitting an LLM, not really collaborating with one. We're literally repeating ourselves over and over again. We're like, why did you give me? Imagine you are in a chat arguing with a robot. Like, that's kind of wild to me right now. You're going over it over and over again. It's like, this isn't it. Imagine, it's insane, insanity. All right. So Anthropic's teams and the broader Claude community have converged on, I would say, a fairly clear idea of what the solution is, which is, yeah, context engineering. Context engineering is a practice of designing and optimizing the entire context window, system prompt, instructions, user inputs, retrieve data, tools, and history to get the behavior you actually want. All right. And I'm looking in the chat as well. Is it time for me to pivot from ChatGPT? I won't say yes, but I definitely won't say no. You don't like Claude UI? Oh, I take that personally. I'm sorry. All right. Next slide. So instead of only asking what prompt do I type, we ask what role should Claude play? What rules and examples does it need? What structure should inputs and outputs follow? And what can we leave out to avoid context rot? So moving away from a more reactive approach, and so kind of always being in the chat, always kind of being like, oh, that's wrong, change it to this. Like, you're wasting so many tokens, you're wasting so much of your money. And when we think about like the ethics of AI and the environmental impact of AI, it's so much better to take a little bit of a step back and be more proactive in your approach. So really think about, what do I actually need you to do, and what don't you know, to help me get to what I need you to do in less time. So that's what we're going to be focusing. We're going to be moving away from reactive and onto proactive. I'm seeing some thumbs up and I love to see it. Excellent, excellent. So we'll walk through some exercises today. Because it's Create Her Fest, discover, design, deliver, as usual, right? We'll define the product. Who are we building for? What problem is it actually solving? We'll structure it as context. We'll create a document that Claude can follow consistently. And then we'll build with confidence. We'll use what we've built to ship content, code, and strategy. And you can use these tools in one area to do all of that, essentially. All right, moving on. So, quest word, there you go, context. Context. All right, so for those who are participating in 75 Heard, there it is. It will show up again, but wanted to give it to you all early because one, y'all are being so great right now. And two, I think this is really funny. So there's that little comedic relief for you. Period. All right. So Anthropic summarizes this kind of thought process as a 4-pillar framework, right? System prompt, tools, data retrieval, and long horizon optimization. Doesn't really make sense to you quite yet. That's okay, because I'm going to talk about it, right? We're mostly living in the first pillar today. So we're mostly talking about system prompt, but we'll also talk a little bit about long horizon thinking via like Claude projects and what does that mean, right? But I'll talk about each of them pretty briefly. So system prompt, let's break it down, this first pillar. This is kind of like your lightweight foundation, not the whole instruction manual, just the role. Think of it as we're asking, who is Claude? Who are you, Claude? What do you know? How do you think? We're not writing a massive novel. We're giving Claude an identity and a few core rules. Say less and mean more. So ideally, a tight declarative system prompt is going to beat out a massive rambling essay every time. So this is going to be your foundation. Everything else, your workflows, your examples, your data is going to build on top of this role, this identity. Next, tools and schemas. This is our pillar 2. If Claude needs to do something beyond writing, so calling a function, querying a database, formatting structured data, describe those skills, or you describe those capabilities clearly. We're not really calling any external APIs today. We just don't got the time. I don't got the time in 90 minutes to explain all of that, really. But we are going to be defining schemas. So we're working with our Let Her Cook project. It's going to be a cute food blog. And so we'll create a schema around recipe type. So think title, ingredients, steps, cooking notes, tags, all of that contributes to a schema. It tells Claude, when I ask for a recipe, return it in this shape with these fields every single time. Clear names, clear descriptions, clear input output expectations. If you're more on the dev side, you've probably seen this in function calling or MCPs, agents. If you're not, just think of it as giving Claude a template so it doesn't freestyle the structure every time you do it. And so it's not giving you something different every time. And you're just like, wait, Why are you doing this? I told you not to do this like 500 lines ago. Well, yeah, you gave it to it like 500 lines ago. It forgot. It doesn't have unlimited memory. So the general rule, if Claude needs tools, describe them clearly. If it just needs to write, you can skip this pillar for now, but we'll talk a little bit more about this, at least on the schema part later when we get into the live build. All right, taking a look at the chat here. Oh, vigorously taking notes. I know that's right. I know that's right. Each model definitely fits a particular use case. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Adrienne and Rama. All right, let's get into our third pillar. And I'll take another sip of water. Woo. All right, pillar 3, data and retrieval, or data retrieval. This is where you show Claude what good and honestly what bad looks like. Examples, 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 okay? Examples, templates, reference docs, past work. Past work is so important, especially when you're thinking about content creation. So for Let Her Cook, we'd include maybe 1 or 2 examples of recipe posts so Claude can see the tone, the structure, and level of detail that we want. For Claude, we'd probably include a short brand guide snippet. You know, what's the color palette? What's the voice? What we don't do, what we don't say. And maybe a sample like content calendar format. If we're thinking like, okay, one of the tasks that I'm going to need you to do is create a content calendar for me on a weekly basis. What does that format need to look like on a weekly basis so that every time that you're asking for a content calendar, you're not constantly fighting with it to get the format what you need it to be. This is called few shot learning. One good example is going to be worth 100 words of instructions. So you're giving Claude just enough context to understand the pattern. Anthropic calls this sort of, I believe, just in time context. So you load what's needed when it's needed and not all at once. Fight the urge to dump a 100-page PDF into Claude. In Claude projects, a lot of this is going to live in your project knowledge, but you really want to structure this effectively so it can call what it needs only when it needs it and not all at once. That takes up a lot of tokens, and we really want to make sure that we're being environmentally sound when we're using these tools. All right, and so think of your files, your notes, and examples that persist across every chat. All right, and the last pillar will be long horizon optimization. This is our 4th pillar. This is about how your context evolves over time. Many of us use AI in probably like single terms. So 1 question, 1 answer, you're done, right? Long horizon work is going to be different. You're running threads across days, weeks. There are threads that I have in Perplexity that I have been using and am still using months later. Okay, months. We're building that memory. Claude is going to remember decisions from earlier chats, managing your feedback loop. And so you're going to be testing, refining this document, this spec, and then you're going to rerun it. And then we're eventually, if we're getting to that point, we won't get to it today, but using sub agents or multi-threading. So different tasks, but the same core context. So different tasks are pulling from the same core context to do their task. All right. So the context spec, which is what we're going to work on today a bit, that needs to stay consistent. It also needs to stay up to date. We'll talk about what that looks like and why. Tasks change. That's the power of long horizon thinking. So later in the demo, I'll show you how one Claude project can power multiple workflows. We'll do something around like content, maybe business strategy, and we'll try to get to maybe a little bit of light dev build. I'll prioritize content, at least a light dev build, to kind of like get 2 sides of the coin. And then maybe if we have time, we can talk about business strategy. If not, there's always another workshop. Was the slide presentation shared? It's not shared, but I'll share it after for sure. I'll share it after for sure. All right, so why this matters. Context engineering isn't a one-shot trick. It is a system you design once and then evolve as you learn what works. I think sometimes people think that you design context, you put all these documents in your Claude project and you're like, okay, that's it. I don't have to think about this ever again. But you actually have to go back and update this, all right? So those are the 4 pillars. Before we talk about the Let Her Cook product, give me a thumbs up if this is making sense, if we're feeling good. All right, excellent. Not too fast, not too slow. All right, feeling good, feeling good. So those are our 4 pillars, all right? System prompt, tools and schemas, data retrieval, and long horizons. So we're gonna put this into practice. Not in Discord. One of our volunteers will definitely drop that Discord in our chat. We're gonna put this into practice. We're gonna use these pillars to design Let Her Cook together. So Let Her Cook is gonna be a food blog for busy beginners learning, how to cook. They wanna find a blog that has some great beginner-friendly recipes. Some of the content types that we'll likely want to see: recipes, obviously, kitchen hacks, maybe, budget tips, stories. The vibe is going to be kind of casual, supportive, jargon-free, and inclusive. And then I included what it's built with. I created a Next.js, and this is, if you're not a dev, like, it's just a front-end framework. Great if you're doing anything that requires a lot of SEO. So I just built a sort of starter project with Next.js. We're going to use a little bit of Claude code, but also Claude, in the chat, in order to house some of our project files. As someone who loves to cook, I'm so sad. Period. I love to cook. Okay, I stay cooking. I have a whole America's Test Kitchen subscription. Okay, I'm locked in. America's Test Kitchen, made with Lao and YT Cooking. Okay, all right. Just drop some gems for you. Period. So first, I would say first exercise of the day before we touch Claude, we're going to think like system designers for a few minutes. So no prompting yet. Again, I really want to take a step back and really want to guide us through thinking about what we actually needed to do before we start wasting tokens. Okay. And so we're introducing Let Her Cook, and we'll get into this exercise. We're going to answer 4 questions together. We're going to answer, why does this exist? We're defining the goal. Then we're going to define the audience. Who's using it and what are their constraints? Then we're going to define the core jobs. What do they actually want to do on this food blog, right? And then we'll define some of the structure. So what pages, content types, workflows are needed. I'm going to ask one of our volunteers if you could drop the link to the whiteboarding activity in the chat. I'll also share my screen while we go over, oops, there we go. While we go over this as well. I was playing with, and I'm so sorry, y'all. I was playing with how to use this tool just straight up in Google Meet, but it required everyone to have a Gmail, and I didn't want to assume that would just be bad product design. I didn't want to assume that everyone had a Gmail account, all right? So we'll have to kind of do this funky way. If you don't want to go into the whiteboard, that's okay, all right? So I'm dropping the link. We dropped the link in the chat, and we'll answer these questions using some of the answers, and we'll use some of these answers for our final document. All right, and so first question, why does this exist? Let's define the goal. Let's get some ideas. You can put them in the sticky notes. I put some placeholder sticky notes. Why does this exist? And we'll take about 4 to 5 minutes. I'll say 5 minutes, right, to answer all of these questions. So feel free to kind of go in and answer these questions. Why does this exist? Who's using it? We'll use a lot of this information. We'll probably use like 2 or 3 from each, maybe like 2 or 3 from each to fill out our context document. So who's using it? What are their constraints? What do they actually want to do? One of those jobs being like, okay, maybe they want to cook a healthy meal in 30 minutes. And then lastly, what pages, content types, and workflows would be beneficial. So pages, I'm thinking they need a home page, right? Workflow, I can imagine for us would be, I need you to organize my recipes. Sometimes I just write out a recipe and it's not structured at all. And that could be a workflow. That is a workflow that I have kind of pre-built, and we can go over that as well. But let me go ahead and put a timer on. I'm going to put some music on first. Actually, let's go into my recently added. Y'all are about to get some visuals into what I've been listening to, but we'll put on some music. Okay. And then I'll put on a 5 timer. All right. All right. Timer 5. All right, and I'll go back here to look at what people are writing. Right, and you can move them Yeah, you can move them, reorient them. You can make the text smaller or larger. Yeah. All right, let me read some of these. Why does it exist? To help reduce the friction of learning how to cook. I like that. I like that. Enjoy healthy eating. Promote a love of cooking, balanced, nutritious diet. Efficient. Oh, I like that one. Efficient meal prepping and planning. Help beginner cooks be consistent. Learn about other. Oh, I like that one because that actually ties into some brand guidelines that I kind of created a little bit just to help us out. And the brand guidelines around Let Her Cook are based on Haitian culture because I'm Haitian. Excellent. All right, let's look at audience. Who's using it? What are their constraints? Oh, yeah, this one. Okay, caregivers, people who don't have bandwidth, busy professionals, working mothers, students, first-time loners. Ooh, I like that one, first-time loners. Some don't know. Hold on now. Hold on, let me fix that for you. There we go. Health enthusiasts. All right, all right. Core jobs. What do they actually want to do? They want to cook a healthy meal. They want to stay under budget. Oh, absolutely. Balanced nutrition, not instant noodles. Yeah. Take the guesswork out of what to cook for the week. I like that. Clear ingredients. Help simplify shopping. I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'll hop in the chat too to make sure I'm not missing anything. And for anyone who's just joining,
in the healthy draw.
Okay, perfect. Love to see it. I love seeing everyone hopping in here. We have about 2 minutes, a little more than 2 minutes left on the timer. Don't forget about pages. So I would say we need a recipe detail page. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna into profile. I don't know if we're gonna build all that. I mean, we can with the power of Claude Code. We definitely can. We're getting into user accounts. Brand overview, pillars, favorites. I like the idea of favorites thing. So you would need a user for that. Curious preference over Figma or TL Draw. So I like TL Draw just for the ease of you share a link and people are already in there. Figma is great in every other aspect, I would say. It just has a lot more support and a lot more features. But for the simplest, I just need to spin up some, I literally went to tldraw.com and I created literally, a page was already technically created. I put a couple of sticky notes on the board and added titles. And that's really all I needed. And it took maybe 7 minutes. I feel like in Figma, it would have taken me a little longer, not because I don't know how to use Figma, but it's just so bloated with everything else that it is capable of. And I didn't want anyone to be distracted with the capabilities of Figma. So it depends on the purpose. Yeah. All right, we have about 1.5 minutes left. Love favorites. Yeah, I love the idea of favorites. Maybe we have that. I don't know. I'm nervous. We'll probably end up troubleshooting Claude on the call. Home screen, budget track, recipe list.
We need to troubleshoot live. I prefer workshop. We always got to troubleshoot live because they need to see how this works. Don't troubleshoot off live, because now I'm by myself. I know.
I hope we have time, child. I hope we have time. All right. I'm liking what I see. I'm liking it. Favorites. My nutrition, protein, calorie goals to reach progress. So we're making it personal. Oh, okay. So it's not just a blog. This is an application. Okay. Let me go back to these other ones. Take the guesswork out of what to cook for the week. Child, I often need that. Sometimes it's really girl dinner for dinner, okay? It's really cheese, some crackers, some sparkling wine, because, I like wine. And a pickle. Adult Lunchables.
Yeah, adult Lunchables. There you go.
Adult Lunchables. And this is coming from someone who was not allowed to have Lunchables as a kid. And so I feel very justified. My mom was not really messing with Lunchables. All right, that's our timer.
So I retrapped the Discord, just you guys, for anyone who hasn't joined our Discord yet, because if we overflow, you can find us there.
Awesome. Excellent. Me too. I discovered the magic of Lunchables as an adult. Yeah, I was like, wait, I can have a little cracker sandwich, and a little Reese's, or it's not a Reese's, it's like a little Kit Kat or Three Musketeers. I think that was like my
Snickers
first time
or
having, or a Snickers. Yeah, I was like, whoa, my life is forever changed. Also, fun fact, I dunked my first cookie in milk last week for the first time in my adult life, and I am 30 years old. Not too much on me, but like not everybody grew up with that. I'm just saying, but it was really fun and really tasty, and I will be doing it again. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, for me, it's hummus and whatever I can dip into it. Crackers is, oh, congrats, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so let's take a look. Let me not delay us with my yapping, but let's take a look at some of the things that we have here. So defining the goal, why does this exist? So one of the ones that I had here will be, was help busy beginners discover they can cook. A couple of other ones that I'm seeing, I really like, efficient meal prepping and planning, promote a love of cooking and a balanced, nutritious diet, lighten the mental load to come up with new recipes when life gets busy. I really, really love this. Okay, so help reduce the friction, simplify recipe prep. You all are thinking like real product designers, and I really, really love to see it. You can walk away from this workshop saying that you did some product design. Okay. All right, next, audience, who's using it? So students, early career professionals, limited income and kitchen knowledge and utensils, caregivers, health enthusiasts, first-time learners, busy moms, career women, people don't have a lot of time or bandwidth to cook frequently. I'm liking it. Core jobs. All right, so maybe what they actually want to do, they want to cook a healthy meal in under 30 minutes. Not everybody has the time, okay? And you shouldn't have to spend 2 hours in the kitchen. Granted, I do like to spend 2 hours in the kitchen. That's my therapy. But not everybody is built for that. And not everybody wants to do that. And that is A-okay. You should still be able to eat good food, okay? We are time poor. Exactly. We do not all have the same 24 hours. Don't let these people lie to you on Instagram. Okay, okay. Let me not rant right now. Anyway, other things that they actually want to do or have, they want step-by-step guides. They want to build a grocery list. They want to budget. Okay, they want to prepare meals for days and reduce food waste. I really like that one. Recommendations based on age and gender. Oh, okay, we're getting into it. Real product designers up in here. All right, and then structure. What pages, content types, and flow? So obviously homepage, I really like home screen, budget tracker, recipe list, notes. I really like the idea of a drag and drop meal scheduler. That could be interesting. I'm curious and nervous to see how that will go. But I'm curious, right? Grocery list I think is definitely an easy one for sure, and brand overviews, profile page, save recipes, favorites. All right. So congrats, you're a product designer. Oh, you're a product manager at this point. Congrats. Give yourself a round of applause. You did so well. Love to see it. All right, so that was our first exercise. And if you notice, we're literally already context engineering. We are oh, hold on. My whole screen went black. 1 second. All right, and there we go. Ooh, that was weird. All right, so we're defining an audience. We're defining outcomes before we even touch Claude. Oh, I keep saying Claude. Before we ever ask Claude to write a word. Claude doesn't know any of this by default yet. All right, but it will assume if you don't give it the information that it's looking for. So if we want it to be for the people that we described, for caretakers, for business professionals who don't have a lot of time, we have to define that first. And we shouldn't mention it to Claude later by happenstance and, in the chat, like, oh, by the way. That's an incredibly inefficient way of going about using these tools. So this is exactly the kind of organization-specific knowledge Anthropic says you have to bring into context on purpose. All right. So we did really well for this. Let's move on. Let me go back here to the prison. How did I get back to the beginning? Goodness. All right. Boom. We talked about 4 pillars. All right, now we're going into design. So we're going to build the context spec. And this is our document, essentially, that we're going to be filling out. We'll fill out the context spec template, and then we'll create a Claude project called Let Her Cook Food Blog. All right, let me show you the template. And if someone can drop the template in the chat as well, just so you have it, I'll fill it out on the screen, I would say. Actually, no, we're not gonna. I'm gonna open this up to share. because I was gonna say I'll just fill it out, but I'll open this up so anyone with the link can edit it, and you'll help me do this. We'll do this together because this is a collaborative thing that we're doing. All right. All right, so for this workshop, we're going to be using a sort of 7-section context speculative document that maps pretty nicely to what I would say Anthropic's context engineer guide kind of breaks down into, which is what we talked about before: system prompting, instructions, user input, and tools, as well as long horizon memory. So we have project goal, audience and use cases, assistant role, and boundaries. We also have behavior and priorities. Next section being input patterns, good requests. We'll mostly focus on good requests. We may input one bad one. And then we'll also have output formats and structures, and lastly, examples. So we'll provide like maybe 1 or 2 examples to show the desired quality of the interaction. So one strong example is always going to be better than many, many weak ones. All right. So essentially, this is called dog fooding. I hate that term, but it is called dog fooding. We're dog fooding our own process. We're using context engineering to finish the spec together. And so right now, we do have what I would say the project goals, some of our audience and use cases are. And so we'll fill that out. That's basically what we sketched out. Sections 3 to 7 are where we turn that thinking into instructions and examples Claude can really use. All right. All right. So first and foremost, I'm going to switch really quickly and go to Claude AI. Before we fill this out, we'll set up our project. I'm going to switch really quickly. I'm going to sync so I can share the window of that Claude. And I had to use a whole other, all right, is this the one? Yeah, I had to use a whole other account for this. We'll name this Let Her Cook Workshop. All right, and the goal I would say I'm trying to achieve is to create a food blog for busy professional women to learn recipes, to learn how to cook. To learn how to cook. I would say that's a very simple. I'm still not sure if what we put here, like the what are you trying to achieve, actually does anything, but that's what we're doing. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I don't want this to be too small. I said a little bit and I zoomed in a lot. All right. All right. So first and foremost, let's go back to our spec doc. Now that I just at least created this, I'm going to present something else. We're going to go into window, back into our spec doc. Awesome. We're going to go back to the top here. All right, so project name, we're calling it Let Her Cook, right? Project goal. So let's go back into, I'm going back into what we wrote out here in our whiteboard. We'll define the goal. I'm going to pick the goal of, let's see, what's a really good, I like this one. Lighten mental load to come up with new recipes when life gets busy. I like that one a lot. Let's go back and I'll put that here. Whoever that was, I love that for you. Yours got chosen. All right. All right, and then next, audience and use cases. So describe the users, any limitations, and key primary tasks the project must hold. So the primary audience, going back into what we did. So our audience, I'd say our primary audience will be this one. Students, first-time learners, busy moms. I'll leave it as that, and busy moms. Boo, 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 boo. Let's go here. I'm going to paste that in our document. And like, this is real stuff that I actually do, like I literally fill out stuff. I create systems and lists and forms and fill them out to help me do what I'm trying to do better. All right, key constraints. What are the constraints? All right, let's go back to this document and find some constraints. What are the constraints? I would say some don't know how to cook. That's one. Let me just think of another one. People don't have a lot of free bandwidth. I'll come back for that one as well. If someone wants to grab that one, that would be great too. I'll say key constraints. Some don't know how to cook. I'll fix that. Someone wants to grab another one. We'll do maybe, oops, there we go. 2 more. Otherwise, I'll just actually do it so it makes sense. People don't have a lot of bandwidth to cook frequently. Maybe we'll keep it at 2. We're going to keep this a pretty lean build, but top use case, jobs to be done. So we're going back in here, jobs to be done. What do they actually want to do? So let's say they want to cook a healthy meal in 30 minutes or less. We'll take 3 of these. All right, see what it does that. All right, we'll cook a healthy meal, 30 minutes or less. Stay under budget. I like that one. That's a really nice, simple one. Awesome. Oop. And let's find a third one. What else do they want to do? There was something about cultures. Was that all this one? Input daily macros. Let's see. I'm curious. They want to save recipes they like. We don't have infrastructure for user accounts, so I'm not sure how it will do this, but we'll find out. All right, maybe it'll opt to do that, but we'll find out. Save recipes that they like. All right. All right, so that's sections 1 and 2. All right, so what I'll do is I'm going to take this beginning context and we're going to dog food this. We're going to take what we have and then we're going to, and I'm going to copy paste, and we're going to use Claude to help us answer the other things. All right, and so all right, let's go back let's share the other screen, present something else, window, going back to Claude, boop, boop, boop. Back to Claude here. All right, we're in our project. We're going to go down to files. I'm going to add context. I'm going to paste this here, and I'm going to name this context spec. I'm going to name it context spec document instead of template. All right. Now we've added context to we've added context to our project. So now in the message box, in our prompt, we're going to write out a prompt to help us fill out the next sections. We're going to fill out maybe sections 3 and 4. So copying a prompt that I have here, I'm going to paste that using the notes in project, and I'm going to change that because it's not, if you can be as specific as you can, that'll be beneficial, but we're going to say using the context spec document in project knowledge, help me draft sections 3 and 4 of this context spec. The assistance role and boundaries and behavior priorities. Keep it under 250 words because I don't really need all that. And in plain language, and reflect our warm and I would say non-diet culture brand because I believe in that. All right, so let's paste that and run that and see how we do. All right, so based on your Let Her Cook project, focus on making cooking. I don't know why I say cookies. I'm thinking about cookies. Easier for students, first-time solo cooks, and busy parents. Here's a draft. So now we're seeing it, right? Notice I didn't say, okay, be creative, and then I gave it a whole bunch of context that it had to sift through. It actually gave us exactly what we needed and nothing more than what I needed. All right, I needed sections 3 and I needed sections 4, and I needed it formatted in the way that we formatted it in the document. All right, so if Claude at any point gives you something off or tells you something that's like, I don't remember putting that in there, use that as a debugging moment, right? And so Anthropic calls this context poisoning, which we'll talk about a little bit later when bad instructions kind of creep into the system. And so if it had done anything wrong, I would go back into what I wrote. I wouldn't go and blame Claude and argue in the chat about like, how could you do this? How could you, do this to me? Like, that's kind of ridiculous. It's not your partner. But I would go back into what we actually wrote in our document and see, okay, what do I need to explicitly ban? Maybe there are phrases I need to tell it not to say, and then rerun the same request. And that's basically kind of like context engineering in practice. So small edits to your spec document and not kind of random prompt retries. All right, how did that look? Is that making sense to you? I'll check the chat as well to see if there are any comments or anything like that. Give me some thumbs up if this is making sense, if we're picking up what I'm putting down. All right, excellent. Claude is hands down the best AI for this kind of work. It sure is. How could you do this to me? It's killing me. Locked in. Could you show the prompt again? Absolutely, I absolutely can show the prompt. And I'll give a list of like the prompts that I used during this as well. But here's the prompt that I used. So using the spec context, the context spec doc, help me draft XYZ, keep it under that, giving it constraints, telling it what to do and what to avoid. Is there a method to give a prompt, or can we ask a simpler prompt question? I have a method to give prompts just if I know what I'm looking for. And so essentially the formula is like, use this to do that and keep it within this and don't do that, if that makes sense. Like, I should really write that out as a sort of like diagram, but that's essentially the formula that I tend to take with a prompt. What do I need you to read or go through before you even start thinking and talking to me? So read that. Now, if you read that, do this, help me do this, or do this. And before you give it back to me, limit yourself, because I don't need you yapping at me. That's not your job. It's expensive for Claude to yap. All right. So give it some constraints and then give me what I need. All right, perfect. All right, I'm seeing some emojis. Love to see it. I love to see it. I'm glad y'all are enjoying yourselves. All right, so now we have like sections 3 and 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy, boom. Gonna go ahead and copy these back into what we have here. So we have 3. So I'm gonna copy that back into our spec doc, which if some of you are still in there, that's where I'm at right now, and just in case you can't see it on my screen right now, because I'm sharing multiple windows. All right, and then I'm gonna paste the out of bound reminders, and then it also gave us section 4, which is our behavior and priorities. So I'm gonna copy over the tone and priorities. I tend to copy in parts because I'm like half reading while I'm pasting. So I copied over priorities. Okay, great. There we go. And if you have any questions in the meantime, while I'm like copy and pasting all this, let me know. All right, and so we'll copy and paste always and the never. Tip, you can even ask AI to help you build a prompt to use in another chat session. Absolutely, yes, you can. Thank you so much, Curly. Which I do often. Sometimes I have like a whole other LLM to help me with like project planning. So sometimes I'll use like Perplexity or Gemini to help me, because I'm just like, listen, you just need to help me with this. I actually don't need Claude to help me with that. I don't want to waste my precious tokens on doing that with Claude, because I'm like, I need Claude to focus on some heavy stuff. All right. All right. So now we have sections 3 and 4. So now we're going to dog food again. We're going to eat our dog food. And we're going to use what we have again to fill out the rest of the sections. Why I do this is to make sure I'm getting the outputs that I'm really wanting. It would be very easy to kind of put all of this in Claude and just kind of like answer its questions. So like, okay, do you want it like this? Or read through it and be like, oh, I really didn't want it that way. And so giving it less makes it way more efficient, just token wise. All right, so we'll dog food once again, and I will copy and paste, boom, going back into Claude, right back into my context spec. Oop. Can I edit this? Oh, could have swore I could have edited it, but I will just delete it. That's fine, because I have the whole thing anyway. Boom. And now it has more context. I'm going to paste that I'm going to delete the title here because I don't like redundancy in that way. I like redundancy in other ways. I'm going to add that content. All right. And I'm going to paste this next one, this next prompt, going back up here, I'll stick in the same chat because we're still having this conversation. Oh my gosh, how could you do this to me? All right, so use the updated context spec in project knowledge. I don't know why I said it like that. In project knowledge, I want essentially 3 to 5 example input patterns for good requests. People will ask this assistant. I will say not people. I will ask this assistant because this assistant is for me and not public facing for people. And also 1 clear output format for a recipe blog post and 1 short example interaction that shows the tone. Keep the language simple and on brand for Let Her Cook. On brand feels kind of ridiculous given we don't have the brand guidelines in here. So I'm going to remove that because I don't want it to assume that we even have that. All right, keep the language simple for Let Her Cook. Let's paste that and see what we get. All right, so now we have section 5, which is our input patterns. I have chicken, rice, and whatever spices. What can I make in 20 minutes? All right, I've never cooked fish before. Do you have something easy under $15? Okay. And then our output formats, recipe blog post, 300 to 500 words, catchy recipe title, brief intro, prep time, XYZ, formatting. All right. And then 7 examples. I burned my grilled cheese. I'm terrible at this. Hey, you're not terrible, grilled cheese. All right. So this is fine. But when I think back on it, I don't actually want it to be an assistant for other people. I want it to be an assistant for me because I'm creating the food blogs. So it's like, okay, we have to really think about the context that we're giving it here. And so here's a good time to be able to chat in the chat and let it know like, oh, actually, and let me think about a better way to say this. But I will literally say on second thought, I don't need it to be an assistant for users. I need it to assist me as the creator of the food blog for content, for business strategy, and development. There are probably a bunch of different ways I could have phrased that better, but I think that was short and got it to the point. All right, so got it. This is a behind the scenes assistant for you as a blog creator, not a user facing tool. So we had to clarify here because we didn't really clarify when we were giving it the context that we were giving it before. So now our input patterns make way more sense for what we actually want to use this for. So we want it to help us brainstorm. We want it to help us write. We want it to create the recipe blog post draft. And so, yes, it should be SEO friendly because that's super important. If you have a blog, we should talk about prep, cook time, numbered instructions, formatting, and examples. I need a blog. Okay, example interaction. I need a blog post for sheet pan, chicken fajitas, Target, busy moms, under 30 minutes, around $12. All right, that makes sense. Here's your draft. This is what that would look like. You've got 20 minutes. All right, and the last thing you want is to file. That's huge. All right, and then continues with the full, right. It saved itself its own tokens by not giving us a full thing because it knew it wasn't real. I'm just asking to give an example. All right, how do we feel about this? Do we feel like this makes way more sense as an output? Give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down and you're like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Excellent. All right, so we'll copy sections 5, boom. Copy. I'll take that back to my spec doc. Delete that. I'm gonna put that here. And then I'll take section 6, output type. I'll copy all of that. Let's bring that down. Oops. Copy this to section 6. Output type, boop, 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 paste. And section 7. So example interaction. Excellent. Copy. And I'll go to section 7. And when I'm filling out the document, I still leave like the little helper text about what the section is supposed to be for. Just if I reuse it, then I at least know what I'm supposed to be putting in it at least and why. All right, so now we have sections, and I'll reshare the screen for that document window here. Boom. All right, so now we filled out our context document, right? It's all filled in. We used ourselves. First and foremost, we used our brains, which I love, because you should always use your brain first before you start using these tools. Otherwise, you get really crappy products, all right? So we used ourselves, we used our brains, we used our whiteboard, and we used Claude together to form a really complete, albeit simple, but really complete context spec, all right? So now we're going to, and I'll move this over to get back to the screen. Boom, that I'm supposed to be on. Present, there we go. Now we're going into a little bit of a live build, all right? So we're gonna really make the impact really visible. I'm time checking here. All right, we're at the 1 hour mark. This is a 90-minute workout. It's a little bit of workout, brain workout. This is a 90-minute workshop. And so if you are hanging in there, kudos to you. If you do have to drop, don't worry. This workshop will be recorded, but I highly recommend sticking around. We still got 30 minutes left. Hang in there with me. All right, I'm going to get through this as much as possible. We're actually doing pretty great on time. Oh my God, thank you. I love compliments. Hands down, most engaging workshop so far. I will cry right now. I won't, but I might. All right. Third exercise. All right, like I said, we're going to make this impact really visible. So I'm going to ask Claude in a plain chat, no context, no project, right? Let's go back in here. Boop, boop, boop. Present something else. I'm pretty sure this is the right one. All right, there we go. Boom. Let's go back in here, put that at the forefront of my screen. Let's get out of this project, right? We're gonna open up a new chat. No project. And again, I'm on this free plan. This is all happening on the free plan right now. So don't feel like in order to like test these tools that you have to already upgrade to a pro account. On my other account, I do have a pro account because I tested, and I'm sorry, Claude is that girl. But for right now, we're gonna use Claude, the free tier. So I'm gonna write a short intro about an easy weeknight chicken recipe. And I want to be fair. I didn't do this when I was like creating this demo, but I want to be fair, right? And I'm going to upload a recipe I technically already have in desktop projects, let her cook, recipes. I want to be fair and give it a little something. This is a Haitian recipe. This is not a chicken recipe, so I'm going to change that prompt. All right. So write a short intro and let me know if, okay, screen is still sharing. All right, write a short intro about, I'll say, this recipe. And we're going to compare and contrast, I guess, the different outputs that we get. All right, so this recipe is, if you're Haitian, congrats, but Diriak Jumu, which literally means rice and pumpkin, essentially, or I guess squash, depending on who you're talking to. And I found out semi-recently that when we say pumpkin, it's actually a squash called pumpkin. But this is the intro that it gave us, right? So as I'm reading it, it's a vibrant Haitian dish. The squash is blended. It's a comforting one-pot meal, both stunning. While it may not be found in every Haitian household, it's quickly becoming a developed staple. XYZ. I don't know where I got that information from, but anyway, pairing beautifully with baked chicken, fried fish, or sweet. Oh, I think I did say that in the recipe because I have some notes in there. All right, so pretty basic. I think it did its whole thing. All right, and so let's actually go back into our project. And I would say what we're seeing here is what Anthropic and other organizations would call unstructured user input. So without the right system level instructions or structured output format, it's kind of generic. I mean, it does what we told it to do. It gave us a pretty short intro, but there's no sense of audience or anything like that, no brand, anything. All right, so we'll go back into our project. We'll go here, and in a new chat, we'll write the same thing. Write a short intro about, I'll say, this recipe, and then I'll upload that recipe. And I'm hoping, otherwise, yikes, but I'm hoping that we'll get something a little different, a little bit more tailored. Here's a warm, encouraging. Okay, so it's using words that we used in our spec document. Okay, all right, we got a little spice. Okay, so this beautiful, oh, you're gassing. I love it. Okay, this beautiful golden rice dish might be due to you, but it's about to become a favorite. Diak jumu, rice with kabocha squash, is a comforting Haitian recipe that transforms simple ingredients into something special. Okay, so we're getting story here. We're getting language. We're getting branding. We're getting basically what we put. It's not coming out of nowhere. It's not pulling from the ethernet, the other worlds, whatever other dimensions. It is pulling from what we actually define. So I really love seeing that. And so this is what we would call structured user input. So same task, but now Claude has a role, it has a target audience, and even a little bit of like brand constraints in terms of like brand voice. So that leverages a pretty tight system prompt, structured like instructions that we put into that document, and reusable context instead of more ad hoc prompts. Now we could have done this the long way. We could have been in that other chat and say, okay, yes, but do this and now do that. Okay, now here's some info, and with that info, do that. Oh, I forgot this. And now given that context, now do that, wasting a ton of tokens, wasting a ton of time. And the point of these tools is to make life a little bit easier, but you do, like I say, have to think systematically. We have to put our thinking caps on. And so thankfully we had Claude put its thinking cap on, and it was able to give us a much better output without us having to argue with it like it's one of our partners or something. All right, how do we feel about that? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, if you're feeling good about what you're seeing. Excellent. All right, excellent. I'll go back to the slides really quick. This is going by so fast. To think I was nervous to present this workshop. To think. Wow. Sharing. All right, presenting. Well, I guess we're kind of doing this right now a little bit. And so one thing I will say, now that our project has a first draft spec doc, we'll design 2 reusable workflows, okay? So this is where context turns into something you can use pretty much every week, every day if you want. Our 2 example workflows will be, just pre-chose them, draft a recipe post and plan a week of content around existing recipes. If we have time, we may include a third based off of like what we put in that whiteboard, but I want to be really cognizant of time and then get to any questions and just make sure we're all good. Oh, fun fact again, or not fun fact, just reiterating again that the secret word for 75her is context for those who are filling out those quests. I don't know if another slide of that is coming. I hope it is, but if not, I'm saying it out loud. All right. Excellent. Someone says, sometimes you answer a question while I'm thinking it, so I appreciate how dialed in you are. Also feeling judged on arguing with the Claude chat. That's okay. I used to do that too. No, not my battery about to die. Hold on, folks. 1 second. I'm so sorry. Let me pause. 1 second, guys. I just realized I muted myself.
Okay, that got me off guard. While we're taking a really quick break, Fonda, please get herself back on AC/DC power. You guys can make sure that you follow along with our YouTube for anyone who may have stepped away. I know that this is a little bit of a longer workshop, but it's very much worth it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because we'll make sure that we get the recording up for you guys. And then make sure that if you have not joined our Discord, I will redrop that link in here for you guys. So if you're looking for any of the supplements and peripherals, you will be straight. Welcome back, Dee.
Thank you. So sorry about that. I thought I charged this. I should have just stayed on the charger. Gosh, goodness, throwing me off. That's okay. We're back. We're dialed in. We're locked in. Locked in? Locked in. Excellent. I know that's my partner in crime. Well, not crime. We're not doing crimes here. But
not recorded. Not recorded.
No, not recorded. All right. So let's get into it. All right. So first of all, I do want to say, coming back to it, but we want to keep these workflows as we draft them. We're going to keep them in that same context file, that same document that we created before. Now you could separate them out, but with a small project like this, it's just better to give Claude one place to look because that's one action as opposed to two. As your project gets bigger, if you're working with more context, if you're working with a bunch of workflows, then you can sort of separate them out. But it's easier to scan and edit one context spec file plus workflows document than it is to chase 3 or 4 separate files. Because oftentimes, unless you explicitly say like it's going to be in here, it'll be like, oh, let me check here. Oh, let me check there. Didn't see it. Oh, let me check there. There you see it. And all of these micro decisions use up precious tokens. All right. So Claude is going to handle a really short, well-structured document way better than several like fragmented ones, as long as we keep it pretty concise and also clearly headed. It's a good idea to get organized. Like these tools work so much better if you take a step back and kind of organize your thoughts. Use headers, use markdown, use all of that, use bullet points. And like I said, if the doc grows over time, you can always split them into 2. But today we're going to split them, or not, we're not going to split them. We'll keep them all in that document. And so the first workflow is going to be that draft recipe post. All right. And so basically the workflow is when I say this, I'll say recipe, I'll give it a title, I'll give it some notes, and then you should do these things. So you should parse the notes into ingredients and steps, use our behavior and brand rules, and return a structured post with title, hook, why this recipe works, ingredients, steps, and notes. So we're both asking it to structure and also to think. So given what I wrote in like my recipe notes, I probably wrote like a story and stuff like that. So use that story to write out like maybe why, like a hook. I probably wrote some notes about like, oh, this is a really cool tip or anything. So use that in terms of like why this recipe works, as well as the notes. And so that's what we'll do. We'll test it. We'll test it. We'll test it. Let's get out of here. All right. Going back to Claude Code. I mean, not Claude Code, just Claude. We're not in Claude Code yet. Oh, I hope we get to it. Let me go faster. Let me go faster. Present something else. Boom. If we don't get to it, I'm sorry, but I'm going to try. All right. Let's test this workflow. All right. We're looking at Claude Code now. I mean, not Claude Code. Goodness, I got to stop saying that. We're looking at Claude Chat right now. Now I'm going to copy and paste this. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's actually put the workflow in that context doc. Present something else. My bad. Going back here. In our context doc, I'm going to scroll to the bottom here. All right. I'm going to paste the workflow we defined. All right. Boom. All right. So that's one workflow. All right. Defined it. Copy this whole thing again. Gonna replace that old context. Oh, we have so much to get through. My goodness. Because we have to talk about all the different kinds of degradation. Okay. Files. Boom. Add context. Boom. All right. Copy. There we go. Add content. There we go. All right, so that's updated. So now we're gonna test that. We're going to go back to sharing Claude. Boom. I'm going, I'm running. And running. I'm so sorry. Copy. Paste. All right, so this is what we're pasting in the chat. Test 1. I'll just put not test 1, actually, because this is just a label. Recipe. Griot is fried pork for all the Haitian, or not, all the non-Haitians. It's super delicious. If you don't eat pork, there's also tasso, which is like a fried turkey. I love that for you. I'm hungry too. And honestly, this was a mistake because I'm starving. But I love the idea of a spicy griot taco. I feel like Haitian food and Mexican food go so well together. It's not talked about enough. Anyway, so recipe, leftover griot in the fridge, once weeknight, friendly mashup, soft and heat a bit, corn tortillas, pickles, XYZ, right? All right. So no deep frying, 30 to 40 minutes total. Boom. All right. So we're asking it to, when I give it this, parse out notes, XYZ, make it a thing. That's essentially what we're saying. Make this a thing. Boom. All right, here's your draft. You've got leftover grill chilling in the fridge. Not chilling in the fridge. You're craving something fresh, but don't want to start from scratch. All right, great, cute. It's giving us time. It's giving us how many it serves. It's giving us cost, because we did note in the document that is something that people are concerned with, And so we have our list of ingredients. So 1 for the tacos, 1 for the pickles, which pickles is spicy slaw. It doesn't have mayo. It's cabbage and carrot and scotch bonnet and vinegar and lime and salt and a whole bunch of other good stuff. Super good. Highly recommend. Oh, I don't know why I'm reading it. It's right here. Why am I saying it? It's right here. Optional toppings of cilantro, avocado, hot sauce. Great. Excellent. Now we have instructions. Okay, make the slaw first. Reheat the grill. Warm your tortillas. Assemble the tacos. Great. Substitution options. No leftover grill use. I don't like these substitutions because I didn't mention that, and this is what I mean that we were saying, or that I was saying, like, we're asking Claude to organize, but we're also asking it to think. Fill in the blanks, because I don't know what I don't know to include here. I'm not a recipe writer. I need you to help me. All right. And so it offered up some suggestions, what to do for out of corn tortillas if you don't love spicy, and then also why this works. So why this recipe works. And then a little note, you just turn leftovers into something everyone will request. That's a win in our book. Okay, we love that. Give it a clap for Claude. Claude ate with that. Okay, excellent. I won't do the test 2 because I want to get to our other examples, but we'll go into the next workflow, which I'll share on my screen. Boom, window, going back here. Excellent. All right, workflow 2. All right, workflow 2, content week planner. So sometimes you're not necessarily building out recipes, maybe, and this goes for anyone who's in more of the content creation space, maybe you need a content plan. And so basically this workflow is going to say, when I say content week, I'm going to say my goal. What is my goal for this content week? And I'm going to give a list of existing recipes or topics. And then what it should do is propose a 5 to 7 day content plan that only uses those recipes for each day, include XYZ, and respect our audience, brand, and behavior rules. Return the plan as a simple, and I have to move my laptop down so I can read it, table or bullet list I can paste into my content calendar. Okay, great. Love this. Super simple workflow. We are going to paste that. I'm going to copy it from here, from my notes. Boop. And we're going to paste that into our doc. And you'll see we're constantly, oh no, I needed the title as well. We're constantly updating this document, and we'll go into why as well, or why you should constantly update your speculative document. Oh, not download. We're going to copy and paste. Boom, copy. All right, going back to Claude. Boom. Excellent. We're going to update that context. Get out of here, context. All right, get out of here, old context. We don't need you anymore. All right, boom. Get rid of that again with the redundancies. Add. Excellent. All right. So we're going to use this pattern and test this. So content week, I'll copy and paste. Boom. Paste in here. Content week, pantry friendly, under $15. Under $15. Ducole is like rice and beans. So there you go. You know, you're learning a lot today. For someone who said like they want to learn about cultural food, there you go. There's your lesson. Ducole is Haitian rice and beans. All right. One pot legume. Legume is sort of like mashed cabbage and carrot. It's really savory and yummy, and it takes all day to make, but it's so, so good. And I grew up in Miami, and so I didn't understand why my mom was making it because it was so damn hot, but it was really, really good. And then spaghetti, we make sort of like a sardine spaghetti, and then spicy tuna and corn fritters. All right, great, great. We're going to run it. Let's run it. All right, so remember that we asked it to propose a 5 to 7 day plan for each day, include the focal point, short hook, and the suggested format. We asked it to respect our audience and then also return the plan. I forgot to mention, we asked it to return the plan as a simple table or bullet list I can paste into my own content calendar. So maybe I have it built in Notion or something like that elsewhere. I just want to like copy and paste it. Telling it what format would be easiest for me to receive this in would be great. Now, we could have just told it to do a thing and not told it the format, and that would have been annoying because I would have been like, I don't want to manually have to do all that. And so now I have to go into the chat and be like, okay, can you put this, in as a table? And you should have thought of that before you even talked to Claude in the first place. So now we have our table, all right? And we also have our notes. All right, and now it's asking, are you ready to draft any of these into post? Just say the word. We're not gonna do that, but I like where it's going with that. I like where it's headed. I like where it's thinking. Okay, so like I said, if the plan goes off brand or ignores your constraints, don't blame the model first. Go back to your document and the instructions that you put into it. Is the input pattern clear enough? And did you spell out the output format and constraints tightly enough? All right, thumbs up, feeling good. Virtual potluck, ooh, stop it. Oh my goodness, I love to see it. All right, and sorry if you hear my cat in the background. This is around the time that he asks for attention. So if you hear meow, he's fine. He's just an attention seeker. All right, let's get back to the presentation. I'm running. Boom, excellent. There we go, presentation. All right, let's get into present mode. Oops, Lord have mercy. Present. All right, so, oh, there it is, quest word, context, there you go, boom, there you go. All right, moving on. All right, so let's talk about what people call context rot. Again, chronically online, love memes, love little gifs. I'm sorry, it was funny. All right, so let's talk about context rot. As you add more stuff to a project, the context over time can degrade. So you may have seen that in smaller ways when an output just doesn't match your intent. You're like, well, wait, didn't I say this? Remember this. Going into a chat of an LLM and telling it, hey, remember, yelling at it to remember something because it ran out of memory is wild. And it is your fault. It is your fault. I'm sorry, but it is. So we're going to talk about the 4 failure methods and exactly how to debug each one. Okay. All right. So number 1, poison, misleading premises, corrupt reasoning. So this is when incorrect or misleading info in your context steers Claude towards the wrong answer. For example, if you have a summary note that says GPT-4 is an anthropic model, Claude will faithfully repeat that as fact in every response, even though it's wrong, because you told it that's what it was. And it may have been a bug on your part, but it is your fault. So how to debug? You check your context for factual errors or outdated claims. Even one wrong fact poisons the downstream answers. All right, moving on. Number 2, distraction. Noise is going to drown out the signal. Irrelevant or low value details crowd out the real signal. Imagine you paste like 3 pages of meeting small talk plus 1 paragraph of your actual requirements. I'm guilty. I've done it. I'm so sorry. Claude spends half its time answer, I would say, recapping the small talk. instead of the info you actually care about. And it will eventually get to it because it's in the transcript. But you did not have to paste that entire transcript, and now it has notes and action items for, you know, people talking about travel and their pets and their partner and their families and their vacation. You need meeting notes. Your coworkers, your CEO, your CFO, like, they don't need all that information, and you don't actually need to take the time to be like, oh, okay, let me delete this from, you know, from my meeting notes that I used, or I use my AI to summarize my notes. All right, all right, moving on. I'm like going through it now. Context clash. Contradictory instructions paralyze choice. So two or more context sources can give conflicting instructions. Your brand guide could say, always be playful and informal, but a separate doc will say, use formal corporate tone, which is obviously very conflicting information. Claude will land in this really weird, inconsistent middle space, and then you will blame the model. And that's not fair to Claude. All right. So how to debug? Review your spec for contradictions. Is there an earlier section that conflicts with a later one? Pick a winner and make it explicit. When these two guidelines conflict, prioritize X over Y. All right. And there are tools and, you know, protocols and workflows that you can create for yourself to automatically do this, you know, just over time or over a period of time or at specific points, kind of check for conflicts as well. All right. Last of these 4 failure modes, stale context. All right. Yesterday's truth becomes today's lie. Previously correct information was never updated as reality changed. So your product spec documents still describe sort of maybe like V1 pricing and features from 6 months ago. Claude faithfully repeats the legacy version instead of the live one. So how do you debug that? Add a last updated date to your spec. We didn't do that, and I should have, and that's my fault. But we should add a last updated date to your spec. Review it weekly or monthly, set a timetable that makes sense. If something changes in the real world, update the spec immediately. And so, essentially, our antidote is context hygiene. Opt for clarity, minimalism, and evolution over time. All right. So I will, oh, we have 5 minutes left. I don't know. I have like one last point, and then there's like a quick, maybe Claude code demo really quick. Maybe we can get to it, but I will say the universal debugging pattern. So 1, spot the problem. 2, locate the missing or weak constraint in your spec. Usually it's going to be in your behavior, priorities, or examples. Ask yourself, should this have been explicitly forbidden? Is there an example showing it what not to do? Because oftentimes we show it what to do, but it's honestly very useful and sometimes even more useful to show it what not to do. 3, edit the spec to be more explicit. Don't patch the prompt, fix the architecture. Add banned phrases and preferred framing. And then lastly, rerun the same task. Don't just change the prompt. Give Claude the exact same request now with your improved spec, and the output should transform. So why does this matter? You're basically moving away from what is called one-shot prompting, and you're iterating the context architecture. So now you're really getting into it with the context engineering, which is exactly what Anthropic and other companies recommend for long horizon systems, which we talked about. Adjust the foundation, not just the last message. The context spec is basically your leverage point. All right. Okay, great. Now, how do we feel? We're at 1:26, 4 minutes left in this workshop. I don't know if I'm going to get to a quick Claude code build, but I do want to at least, I'll skip ahead really quick. This is what we learned. Thank you for joining. Please fill out the feedback survey if somebody could drop that in the chat. Let me know how you enjoyed this workshop. I'm thinking I will at least record the quick Claude build and send it along with the resources since I didn't get to cover it. I would stay longer to just build it for anyone else who is interested, but I have to take a nap because I've been up a long time. But yeah, are there lists of constraints that are nice to have when prompting? It depends on the prompt and what you're trying to do. I would say it really would depend. I wouldn't say there's like one to rule them all. It's not Lord of the Rings, but it's good to think about it from a systems oriented point of view. Do Claude Code as a separate session? Yeah, I think I would. I think I will. Because there's so much more and there's so much I had to cut. Absolutely. All right. Yes. Thank you so much. Please fill out our feedback survey. And if you have any questions, definitely join the Discord. I'm mostly always in there, as well as our other volunteers who are builders and designers and product owners in their own right as well. Is there a way to define project or context doc in Claude Code? Absolutely. So if you have a Claude Code, if you have a Claude Pro account, Claude Pro and up, it takes, like, instead of you paying for, like a specific usage amount, it's just going to take it from whatever is allotted for your amount. But you can go into Claude Code and literally kind of chat with Claude there. Visually, it's not fun, just because like you're working kind of in a terminal. So if you're not someone who's used to that, like being in a terminal in that way, I would do more of the defining the project and the context just outside of that and doing it in like your Claude project, especially if it's something that you want to refer back to later. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And in Claude Code, you can use the / command in it to create Claude mode, which is what we were going to do today, but shall we run out of time? We ran out of time. I'm so glad you all enjoyed it. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. And if you're not signed up for 75HER, highly, highly, highly recommend. I'm hoping to do more workshops like these in the future. And so stay plugged in with CreateHER Fest. Sign up for our newsletter. We share resources. We do workshops like this. We do hackathons. We do a bunch of stuff. We go to conferences and events. And so really stay tapped in with me and with CreateHER Fest. I think I already put it in like a slide before. You can stay connected with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I've been really into threads recently. Don't follow my developer one. There's nothing going on there, but you can follow me at Darlyze. And I yap a lot there too. So really excited to connect with you all. And the recording will be up within 24 hours. I'll play a little music to like get us out of here because I gotta take a nap and then I gotta do a whole bunch of work. All right, let's see. Let's get into what's in my recently added. All right, maybe a little Janet. Maybe, I've been really feeling this song. Let's do that. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Happy Friday, Junior. Thanks for joining. Excellent. I'll stick around for like 2 minutes, let this song play out a little bit.
You did good. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was so much fun. You guys had an amazing energy.